But I am appreciative of you being like, hey, we need to get the word out there that I did not call mama and dada. And the reason why that'll happen is not because of me. And we try to do that for you.
Appreciate that.
Unlimited stories broke, unlimited amount of cash available for Schultz. Nonetheless, Vikings, they're on Tannehill potentially to be the backup quarterback, or how do you see this going?
I would say Pelissero's right. It is J.J. McCarthy's team going forward. He's going to be the guy in OTAs. He's going to get the reps. And it did sound like in training camp last year, they thought he was excellent. Now, obviously, the knee injury kind of pulls him back a little bit, but he did the full meniscus repair. Generally, that means full recovery and no issues going forward. He's got a lot of time health-wise. I think he's going to be good. The Tannehill conversations, which I didn't get the sense were much it's not like conversations being like, all right, we'll offer you $20 million, and he's like, I want 25. Like, that's not the conversation. If there was any conversation, it was more like, all right, like, might you theoretically be available if we need you? Because Ryan Tannehill sat out all last year, right? I think would probably come back for the opportunity to start for an awesome team and maybe make like some decent bridge quarterback money, maybe 10 or 15, something like that. But I don't think it's like, I don't get the sense anything's imminent. And I think they hope that they don't need him. Because the hope is your future's now, roll with J.J. McCarthy, who's really talented, and just move forward from there.
Okay, so they were going to be in on Daniel Jones until the Colts said, you know what, we're actually going to get Daniel Jones. And then once Daniel Jones is off the market, because he was already in their building last year, they say, okay, we're going to roll full force with J.J. McCarthy. Do you think that's how that went? Or do you think there was real conversation about what the hell happens in the quarterback room over there?
Well, I would say they were in on Daniel Jones till that morning. Like they were in. They made an offer. It was, I think, similar, or maybe it might have been a small bit more. Trying to remember, I can't remember the exact numbers. Free agency was like a blur. Plus Twitter went out. It was all a mess.
No, a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. But they made, they offered him real money. I think similar to what the Colts offered him. So they were definitely in on it. But even if Daniel Jones had signed with the Vikings, I got the sense it was more they were going to let them battle anyway, right? Because let's say they signed Daniel Jones to a $15 million contract, and then J.J. McCarthy is clearly the better quarterback in camp. Players know. Players in the locker room know who the starter is. So if it was JJ, then he was going to start. So that's what I think it would have been anyway. And that's why I think Daniel Jones did a great job, Pat, of being like, the Colts is a better spot because I could start there and then just roll forward.
On that note, D-Bud had a little bit of a take about Daniel Jones all of a sudden became the belle of the ball, right? Wasn't that kind of the combo there, D-Bud?
Yeah, once he, wasn't starting and seeing him a lot on prime time, wasn't, necessarily stinking it up or blowing people away. Once you kind of go away, kind of like how coaches kind of go away for that year, and then they become the belle of the ball. I'm sure Mike McCarthy will probably experience that this offseason, just like Sean Payton and other guys have. So it's interesting now that some people are excited about him being in Indianapolis, potentially either push Anthony Richardson or to actually get in the starting job. I feel like, hey, he comes here, he pushes him, get a competition, but you want to see this bring the best out of Anthony Richardson, and hopefully that's what it does for. I'm sure a lot of Colts fans probably feel the same way.
Well, and Steichen, too.
Rapoport. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, KOC gets a bunch of credit for being a QB whisperer, and he absolutely is. But Steichen has had success with other quarterbacks. Like it happened with Gardner Minshew, where Gardner Minshew came in, Pro Bowl, and then he gets a deal with Las Vegas. Granted, Vegas went how it went, but it's not as if coming to Indianapolis is a huge step down as far as play caller goes, because we all know Steichen is one of those top guys at maybe not culture, but at being a play caller on offense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the culture is going to get turned around. Okay, I've heard.
Sure.
They're working hard.
Okay.
Are they? You talking about Colts?
Yeah.
Colts just had to mature a little bit. They became professionals. They're all working hard this offseason. All right, D-Butt? We're optimistic.
Very optimistic. What is it, March 24th? Very, very optimistic. Things change around. I do love the people that Chris Ballard has brought in the building and paid big money. Cam Bynum, I love him. Heard great things about him off the field. Ward, same thing with him. And then it's been rumors. I don't know how true this is. Trey Hendrickson, are we getting him or what?
Oh,
are we reuniting him and Lou or what?
Good question.
I'm sure there's interest. It seems to me. So here's sort of the Bengals stance. I mean, obviously we saw they paid the two stud receivers, right? They paid Jamar and Higgins. Got nice contract. Jamar, I mean, great contract. Higgins, really nice deal as well. The Bengals do not like letting good players leave the building. Even if it's for like a huge draft pick, they don't like it. They like to draft, develop, sign their own guys. And I think they get annoyed that people think that they don't sign their guys. So Hendrickson is awesome. He deserves a lot of money. I think his next contract's going to be above 30. Is it going to beat, Max Crosby? I don't know, but it's going to be above 30. And I think the Bengals are working. Not I think. I know the Bengals are working on it. And I know they would like to keep him in the building. They would like to pay him. And I think they would like people to stop saying, why don't the Bengals pay their guys? Because they do. And I think getting Hendrickson done at a money and a value that makes sense for both sides will be a great way for the Bengals to be like, see?
Yeah. Yeah, the interesting thing about that is in the Bengals social media dunked on me and many others.
Oh, yeah. It was
None of us, it was great. I thoroughly enjoy that type of shit. Now, there's a lot of people that were in that video were like, okay, we'll see how this works out. They have to like defend their entire stance. For me, I love it. Like, hey, if you would like to Vince Carter, take off and dunk on me for something I say, I am 100% cool with that. I like that. I think that's good social. I think that's good digital. But I don't think any of us thought they were going to be able to get T and Jamar done. They do. Over $100 million for both of them. Now, the way the contract is being set up for T. Higgins, I think there's a lot more question marks on how the deal is as a whole versus what was originally reported by journalists like you and many others. But if they were able to get T, Jamar, and Trey Hendrickson all signed in one offseason, that would be very much opposite of what the Bengals are, but also a great way to prove that you'll spend money on your people. And then what do they do with the rest of the roster? It'll be fascinating because they
better draft. I mean, look, you spend a lot of money on these guys, Pat. It's awesome. It's what everybody wants. You have to draft well when you're paying top dollar. Have to.
Eagles were able to do this. Eagles were able to pay a lot of people. Now, granted, not as much, but at the time, with where the salary cap was, when they paid the people, Eagles and Howie and everybody over there were able to do it because they drafted very, very well. It's like Bengals now got to do it. And I love that they're at that era of this team. They have an indoor practice facility. They sold sponsorship to their stadium. They have a franchise quarterback. They're paying players. Let's go, Bengals. Let's go, Bengals.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Bengals.
I love everything about it. Go ahead, Ty Schmidt.
Yeah, Rap Sheet, speaking of the draft, we've gotten a lot of people's takes on this, but I don't know if we've necessarily gotten yours yet. The closer we get to the draft, it seems like Cam Ward is kind of like the surefire number one pick now with the Titans. At this point, are we thinking that him and Shedeur Sanders are both going to go in the top 3, top 5, and where does that leave a guy like Jackson Dart? Like, are we going to potentially see 3 quarterbacks maybe go in like the top 15 or so? Because that's starting to pick up heat.
Okay, so I'll start with the last thing first. I think the way it's looking to me now, I would say my guess, and we'll get Daniel Jeremiah's take in a second, but my guess is we get 3 in the top 15. 3 in the top 15. Because quarterbacks
very
always
different statements there.
No, sorry. 3 in the top 15 is my guess. The biggest where Shedeur Sanders goes is the biggest draft question mark that I could remember in a very, very long time. And I know that Coach Prime, who we love, my former colleague, great dude, done an incredible job at Colorado, has talked about the haters. I don't know that it's haters, but people have a lot of questions because he is for sure talented. He has put 2 programs on his actual back and led them back to national prominence. Like what he did at Colorado is awesome. What he did at Jackson State's unbelievable. I mean, he is a rock star, but he's, it's not a slam dunk number 1 overall selection like I think a lot of people think Cam Ward is. So like, could Shedeur Sanders go 2 to Cleveland? Possible. 3 to the Giants? Possible. Could I see him going past the top 10 and be the biggest question mark of the draft with every single team, on the clock being like, are they going to take Shedeur? I could see that too. Like, it is absolutely fascinating. And a month out now, I have absolutely no idea. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, you talk about Shedeur transforming 2 schools and 2 universities. That's very real. It has to be talked about. It's not just him, obviously. There's a lot that goes with it, but like, what him and Travis Hunter were able to do. Travis Hunter, certified top 5 pick, right? He's going to be the first non-quarterback off the board? Or is Abdul Carter?
I would say it's a toss-up. Abdul Carter maybe has a little bit of a better chance now just because...
Because if the Browns don't draft Shedeur, they have Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett?
I would
position,
say
that position, like pass rusher, once if you get elite, a guy, they're calling him a blue chip elite type of guy, usually those guys go first, but we haven't necessarily seen anything like Travis Hunter. I don't anticipate him playing full-time on both sides of the football, but we haven't seen anything like Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. If you can get an elite pass rusher at the top of the draft, usually those guys are next valuable right after the quarterback.
It's a great graphic right here, by the way. I did not see this one before we go live. Really? Is this Bone? Is this a Bone production?
Dirty,
great work, Dirty.
Oh, yeah,
that is a great graphic. Abdul Carter looks super cool. He looks super cool.
It's
in the front of that thing.
The Zeke Elliott jersey pull-up is really what sells it right there.
And he's a dog, too. We learned about the shoulder and then the foot and everything that's kind of been happening. He just shows up and wants to play ball. So you would understand why the Browns might want to team him up. But, the Browns need a young quarterback, don't they? And it's
they do. But, so the Browns are in conversations with Russell Wilson, right? And he visited them. And so it seems now he's got mostly, Browns and Giants. And obviously everyone's waiting for Aaron Rodgers. So that's sort of up in the air. But it's interesting because if they sign Russell Wilson, first of all, I don't get the sense it's going to be a huge contract if he signs there. Second of all, everyone's going to say, well, obviously the Browns aren't taking a quarterback. And I would say I'm not so sure about that because I could actually see them doing all of them.
Yeah.
Just all of them. If Russell Wilson signs in Cleveland, it's not going to be for a lot of money. Doesn't take them out of anything. You're going to take the best available player at 2 no matter what, if that's a quarterback or otherwise.
Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, is a man who's a mock drafter, a man who actually had a top 5, top 3 trade predicted a couple of years back that made us believe that this guy might know everything about everything when it comes to the draft. He and Rich Eisen host the Combine. Move the sticks, ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Jeremiah.
What's up, buddy?
What's going on, boys? Ian, I was watching Ian's face when you said that about the trade. I just wanted to see his reaction to that because there was a lot of information got pulled in to make that prediction, but and I rightfully so. I should give Pelissero some credit there. No. So my bad.
Okay, this is the biggest nonsense. I'm sorry.
Hold on, I didn't know this was something.
Okay,
what happened?
All right,
what's this?
Quick story time. So me and Pelissero are driving. Tom is our VP of restaurant reservations, so we always will go to dinner at good places when we're together for draft week, which we will be this year.
Classic Arrow.
Shredding.
So we're DJ comes on speakerphone. He's talking through a mock draft with us, and it comes up in conversation. Now, I think I said it.
Oh.
Pelissero claims he said it. DJ believes that he said it. Anything could have happened. That maybe the Texans want both, meaning Will Anderson and Stroud. And so maybe they trade up. Now, he mocks it, puts himself way out on the limb. And so even though I broke the trade of the Texans trading up to 3, he's the one that gets the flowers on set. And so obviously I'm not jealous. I'm happy for him.
Ian.
No, I'm happy. This is me being happy for him. Anyway.
The funny thing is, Pat, as you know, unfortunately, there's this thing called the record of the Pat McAfee Show, where I went on and gave the full explanation of why I was doing that and talked about how I wanted to get at least one of the picks right. I feel like they're taking one of these 2 players, so if I make the trade, at least I get credit for having one of the 2 be correct. And that's actually on record on the Pat McAfee Show if you care to go back and look at it. But that's all right. Yeah.
Do some research, Rap. Go back and look it up. Nonetheless, however it came to be, in our eyes, you predicted it accurately. Now, did you use your source says to get to that? That's good mock drafting. So let's talk about what your sources are saying now. Number 2 overall, obviously we were just chatting about it. We think that is like a linchpin potentially for the rest of the draft. Does another quarterback go there? Or does that cause chaos for people to trade up to get another quarterback, maybe Jackson Dart, if they think they're going to be in there? From what you're leaning at right now, and obviously 3.0 went out last week, we're waiting on 4.0. You have Abdul Carter going. Him and Myles Garrett being teamed up would be absolutely absurd in Cleveland. How sure are you of that, or are you just trying to sit in Andrew Berry's shoes? And what do you think is going to be the next shake, maybe from the information that you've received in your mock draft?
Yeah, I wouldn't say sure. I mean, the thing that feels sure right now in this thing is that Cam Ward feels very, very likely to go number 1, and then I think all bets are off. I would say this about the Browns. They're going to take a quarterback. I feel confident about this. They're going to take a quarterback with one of their first 2 picks. So is that a situation where they take Shedeur Sanders right there at 2? If they were to take Abdul Carter at 2, I think 100% I would keep an eye on the Browns as a team that could be trading back into one to maybe get into the Jackson Dart sweepstakes. So that's where I kind of see everything with them. And then that leaves the Giants. If Shedeur gets to the Giants, and if the Giants decide, that they're not going to take Shedeur, then what Ian was talking about, I think that really comes into play. Is like, okay, now it becomes a little bit trickier trying to find where that landing spot is. So I think Shedeur will know after the first 3 picks what kind of night it's going to be, because if he doesn't go in the first 3, I don't think the Jets will do it. And the Jets, bringing in Justin Fields is still young. I think they want to see what they have there. I thought the Saints, you could make a case there, but the way they're kind of trying to piece everything together and bring everybody back, with the Derek Carr situation, I don't know that I feel great about that being a landing spot. So for Shedeur, all eyes are on the first 3 picks. And if somehow he doesn't go to one of those 3 teams, then it becomes pretty interesting.
Before the boys have some questions, DJ, are you going to be at the draft in Green Bay?
Yes, I will be there. I will be there in Green Bay for that entire week. So we'll pop on with you during the week.
Rapshi, will you be there?
Oh, I will be there. I'm excited.
They haven't told Ian yet. They haven't told Ian yet, Pat. So let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Stop it. I got my reservation. Pat, are you? We're not going to see you there, Pat.
Yeah. Well, the more and more I think about it, maybe we go shake their hands. Maybe we do go shake their hands. I'm trying to mature. I'm in Scotland now. I am. I'm well voyaged. Maybe we try, because it's going to be an electric factory over there. That place is amazing. I can't wait to see, and also who our guest host potentially would be a good thing to be over there. And it's awesome what the NFL has done with the draft. So maybe we go shake their hands and make it happen.
There we go.
Is that breaking news?
It hasn't happened. This is me potentially thinking about it, and obviously the way this will get aggregated in the conversations and the half-truths that will get pushed out there.
Welcome to my world, Pat. Welcome to my world.
Somebody has to say, you guys are acting ridiculous. And I feel like I've done that. Now, with that being said, don't need to be that guy all the time, but it seems like I am. And I'm almost done with it, especially after eating a Cafe Sono this morning with Fahi and his mom. I realized that there's a lot more important things about life than always having to take a stand. So maybe it's maturity. Maybe it's my daughter. Maybe it's the wife. Maybe it's Cafe Sono this morning. Nonetheless, hoping to get out there. That place is a beautiful city. AP Tone has a question for you, DJ.
Yeah, DJ, I'm fascinated by the conversation you guys were just having. So if say Shedeur doesn't go at 3, could he go at 21 to the Steelers? And I know you had Jackson Dart mocked to 21 at the Steelers. Do you have him mocked there because you actually think he's a first-round quarterback, or you think that he could potentially go in the first round? Because a lot of Steelers fans are saying no way to Jackson Dart at 21, strictly because they just have PTSD from Kenny Pickett going at 20.
Yeah, I understand that. I get that from the Steelers fans' standpoint. My thing was pretty simple on that. I have him right on that borderline of being a first-round graded player. And in a draft where there's a lot of parity and the high side is not as good as some of the other drafts we've seen, I think it's easier to justify that. And then more importantly, I think Jackson Dart, based off where they are now, and we'll see what Aaron does, but as of right now, I think Jackson Dart would have a good chance of winning that job. So to me, he's a better option than what you have on the squad right now. So that's why that one made some sense to me. But I'm curious. When Ian said he thought 3 in the top 15, I'd love to get Ian's take on that one, because to me, if Jackson Dart was going in the top 15, is that New Orleans, or are you talking about maybe a team coming in, from back half of the first round coming up?
Yeah. So
yeah.
No. So first of all, here's what I learned last year. Okay. I mean, look. So we can go through it right now and see who the quarterback teams are going to be. Right. I would say the Raiders at 6. Are a team, if they slide back. I don't think it's going to be at 6, but I think if they slide back, they could be a team. The Saints, potentially, if they slide back as well, and I think they would like picks. I would say Colts, probably not. Falcons, no. Seahawks, could they actually trade up? I mean, obviously they have Darnold, but it's a great contract for him, but they can get out of it after 1 year. I would say that would be another one. The Steelers potentially as well. And then you have some teams sort of in the back. I mean, how long is Matthew Stafford going to play for the Rams? Could they come up? They could F them picks and they come up as well. So everybody gets overdrafted. At this time last year, I knew for a fact that Bo Nix was going to be a second-round quarterback. I would have I told everybody. We knew it for a fact. And he went 12 and then showed that he probably should have gone earlier. Like, everyone gets overdrafted and no one knows anything. So that's sort of my argument.
Penix as well. Especially in quarterback position.
I would have said second rounder, and I could have told you all the reasons, and then he gets in there. First of all, he gets picked in the top 10. Second of all, he gets in there and has an absolute cannon and looks great. I mean,
Kirk Cousins. Is Kirk Cousins going to back up down there, Rap?
I think he is until somebody trades for him.
Until he isn't? Is that where you're going to go with it?
Holy shit. Great news.
Aggregate that. No,
that was really good.
Here's what I could see is, and look, I mean, DJ, you know how, I'll ask you this in a sec, but there's not a ton of surefire, absolute day one starting quarterbacks in this draft. So if someone doesn't get one who maybe thought they were going to get one, all of a sudden Cousins becomes a very interesting trade possibility down the line. DJ, I want to ask you though, today is Cam Ward's, he's going to throw, it's Miami's pro day. It's a little later today. You talked about him as sort of the overwhelming favorite to be the first overall pick. What do you need to see today from Cam Ward?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm at the network right now. That's why you see that fancy.
You're in the green room.
Oh, wow! Whoa!
Hey, tell some of those mid-level execs that there's a chance I'm going to extend the olive branch. There's a chance.
Okay, I will go upstairs.
Tell them great work. Tell them great work setting all that up and everything. Tell them we appreciate them. Tell them they're great at what they do. Tell them they do what they do.
I'm going to tell them you're going to need some of those rice cakes to make their way to Green Bay and then try and seal this deal and get Pat back in the mix.
Rice cakes?
I'm currently on keto. No rice cakes. Thank you. I'll take some.
Okay.
No,
okay. I got you.
Bar or something?
Yeah, we'll get you like a beef stick. We'll be good. So to me at the pro day today, we're covering it from the
grab the meat sticks. Sorry, go ahead.
So for the pro day today with Cam Ward, I mean, I really, it's one of those pro days where it's like a proof of life pro day. Just show up, show that you're healthy, hold up a current newspaper. I mean, I don't really need to see anything. Like, the arm strength is excellent. He can make every type of throw. You see every type of throw on video. The things that got him in trouble were being a little too over aggressive and trying to force some things. Cross body throws, kind of some recklessness at times. Like, that was the knock. Well, the pro day is you're not gonna see anything from that standpoint. There's no defense. So to me, this is set up for him to shine. But I don't know that he necessarily has a lot at stake either, because you can see all the good stuff in his tape.
Yeah, I think your conversation about him being able to throw that ball right there is absolutely absurd. His leadership is there. I'm excited that we have a clear favorite at quarterback. I'm excited to watch him kind of take the "you stinky" into the NFL, especially in a city like Nashville that needs something bad. Go ahead, D-Butt.
Yeah, DJ, we've been talking about kind of I know Ian just mentioned a couple times moving in the draft, and this is the first year, however many years, that all the teams have come in with their own first-round pick. So this is kind of a two-part question. How much movement do you expect on draft day, and what are the deepest position groups in this draft in your position? Obviously, we don't think it's quarterback this year, but who are those position groups that are deep?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, the first part of the question, like, the movement thing's going to be hard because normally the movement positions are quarterbacks and pass rushers. Well, we don't have a ton of quarterbacks, so if we do see movement, I think it would be at the top of the draft. And then from pass rusher wise, leads to the second part of the question. It's the defensive line is the deepest position in the draft. There's a million of these guys, and it's edge rushers as well as D tackles. It's just a stacked, loaded group where we're going to see, the first round is going to be heavily dominated by defensive linemen, and that's going to carry on into the second round as well. So that's kind of where we are with that. I just don't know we're going to see a ton of movement because of that. So, everybody coming in with their picks, it could be kind of a stick and pick draft for the most part. That's at least where we are right now at this point in time in the process, unless, maybe you're a team that, that has an offensive tackle need and you feel like that's a little bit of a shallow pool. Maybe you'd move up a few spots, but I don't know. I'm not anticipating a ton of movement at this point in time.
Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, DJ, at the start of the draft process, Tet McMillan was, like a top 5 pick. And then as we get closer to the draft here, it seems like the receivers just in general, their stock has gone way down, maybe outside of Golden running how he did at the Combine. Is there a chance that we only get, maybe 1 or 2 receivers in the first round, or do you think when like McMillan goes, whenever that is, I think you have him mocked at like 22, that the dam will kind of break and we'll get a run of kind of all these guys who are potentially fringe first-round receivers?
Yeah, I think we're going to get more than 2. Matthew Golden's going to go in the first round. I think when it's all said and done, Ibuka will end up going in the first round. McMillan's going to go in the first round. Grades are a little bit all over the map on him. I never had him up there, throughout the process as a top 5 guy. He was kind of in that, I think maybe 13 to 15 range for me for most of the process. So that's kind of where I've had him. And you talk to teams in the league, some are lower than that, some are a little bit higher than that. I have not talked to anybody that had him as a top 10 guy, throughout the process. So sometimes that can kind of, get out there on the media side of things, but it doesn't necessarily always carry over to the team side of things. But I think those 3 guys go. And I think we'll get another one in there. It wouldn't be surprised if Luther Burden ended up getting in the first round out of Missouri. Iowa State's got 2 really, really talented receivers that there's some buzz and some heat on them. So we'll see what happens there. But there's enough options and enough candidates that I think, we're going to get 3, 4, somewhere in that range.
Do the teams that need to rebuild through the draft, like we just talked about the Bengals, they're going to have a great draft, obviously, in a lot of different positions. Because, at one point, maybe F these picks. And, Rap, what did you mean by that when you said that earlier? What did you mean by that? You said that, F these picks.
So a lot of times F is sort of used in place of a word that I can't say on TV. I mean, I could say it.
Whoa, you better be specific.
It means...
Yeah, but...
Like,
amen.
It's a good point.
Connor, what F word are you talking about?
Screw these picks would be another way to say it. Okay. Kids might be watching. My kids might be watching. They're not. They're in school, but they could theoretically be watching.
Yeah, I understand. But I just, whenever you say F word, like you make my head say it. So just know that you're saying it, okay? Without saying it.
You're like my Google Translate. Like I say it, and you're in your head goes, hold on, he means, I got it. I got it.
Exactly. But these teams that need to transform, allegedly, there's just a lot of depth in this particular draft. There's going to be people looking for more picks that need that. Is that what you're thinking, DJ, in this entirety?
I think in talking to teams that I've talked to, there's an interesting conversation about in trades trying to get picks in next year's draft. And even, going out into the future.
F these picks.
So
F this draft class is what they're saying.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's some thought to that of let's try and get resources. There's some teams that are already loaded up with comp picks next year because of what they lost in free agency. And now if you trade down a little bit, you could be in a pretty good situation with next year's draft. So if we do see movement, I'll go back to the question that D-Bud asked, because if we do see movement, I don't think you're going to have to pay sticker prices on movement. Ian, I would that's the way I would phrase that. If you are going to see movement, I don't know that the prices are going to be super high to move around.
So it's interesting. First of all, I would agree, because it doesn't seem like there's that high end guy who's kind of floating out. I mean, we'll see. But you mentioned the teams looking to get future picks. The Philadelphia Eagles have done as good a job as maybe anyone in a very long time of exploiting teams desperate for picks this year to move up, and they collect future picks like nobody else. So that to them, organizationally, from Jeffrey Lurie all the way down, has been like, this is how we get value. We acquire picks next year because you go, that's second rounder, I'm not going to worry about him next year. Eagles have exploited that. They have collected those and used it to absolutely load up. And so, I think you're right. I think we're going to see the teams that, Eagles, Ravens, teams that are perennially good, collect picks for future to be like, we'll take them because you need this guy and we don't.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper knows what he's doing over there in Philadelphia.
He and I got a good selfie at the Super Bowl.
Somehow they just, after he gave the motivational speech to go win the Super Bowl, it's unbelievable what they've been able to do with that roster transformation, with how much money they've paid everybody, and then they still pay Saquon, top of the class, 3 years in advance. It's like if Philadelphia's able to continue to win, that'll be absolutely bananas. Connor has the last question for you here, DJ. We appreciate you.
Yeah, DJ, obviously the Patriots don't need a quarterback because Drake May is a future Hall of Famer. But in this scenario where Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter go, 1 or 2 and 3 back to back, and then, Shador being that other pick. Obviously, the Patriots aren't going there. Elliot Wolf actually came out and mentioned, hey, we're in a spot now because of free agency where we don't have to take biggest need. We can take, best available with, Hunter and Abdul gone. Is the next best available like Ashton Jeanty? Like, is there a world where that's who New England goes with? Because, you have Will Campbell going 10, and he wouldn't be considered next best available.
Yeah, I would say it. If you don't get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, I would add a little line to the end of best available. I would say best available player that can help your quarterback. So I would be looking on the offensive side of the ball, and Ashton Jeanty, I have him as I think the number 3 player in the draft. So if you're just going pure best available player, it'd be Jeanty, and if you're obviously looking on the offensive side of the ball, he would be the guy there from the offensive side of the ball standpoint. Yeah. So I just feel like that's got to help. Unless you can get Abdul Carter, like somehow Abdul Carter gets there, I get it. But man, like if you draft Travis Hunter, you play him at receiver. He helps Drake May. This first pick after a defensive heavy free agency, it just feels like, man, this has got to be a pick that's going to help Drake May.
You think? I'm sorry to interrupt. You think that Travis Hunter at 4 to the Patriots playing receiver makes sense value wise? That's pretty interesting.
I would. I think he's dynamic. I think he'd be their most dynamic weapon on offense, and I think they would have a lot of fun watching those two guys, quarterback and receiver, kind of grow up together. I would be excited about that if I were a Patriot fan, and somehow Travis Hunter would be there, and I would be interested when they say Travis Hunter. The Patriots select from Colorado Travis Hunter. Yeah! I would be listening though to say, is it wide receiver?
Football player.
Is it corner? Is it combo? Like, how are you going to write that on the card? Because the team does get to decide how that's going to be announced. I would be curious. That to me, that would be wide receiver / corner, not the other way around. If you're the Patriots,
dog. He had the dog on his chest.
He did.
You're right. Could be dog. Could be ATH. Yep. Could be WR/CB. I mean, there's a lot of things.
Pat.
Go ahead.
Pat, real quick. You guys brought Ian into the studio. Do you have to pay for security for him, or how does that work?
Nah, he's so little, he just kind of like squeaks by.